Okay, Derby Ice, we've just seen the nominations for the Critics' Choice TV Awards. A ton of shockers. I think this would have been impossible to predict. I'm kind of glad we weren't predicting the nominations at Gold Derby because I would have got like 5%. That's how crazy these are. But there's a lot of really, really good nominations here. And Daniel, I'm going to come to you first. Um, HBO did the best of all. It got 27 nominations. Second place was FX, and that got something like it was 16 nominations. So those are the two big networks that got the most nominations. But of all the nominations, what are your favorites?
Well, you called these, a crazy list of nominations, and I think they're only crazy in that I'm not used to seeing awards groups pay this much attention to what they're voting on. We saw a lot of nominees that don't necessarily have a lot of buzz, but if you were watching them, they belong here. So I was really thrilled to see Melanie Linsky nominated for Togetherness, Aiden Young for Best Drama Actor for Rectify, and the two acting nominations for Parenthood, Craig T. Nelson and Mae Whitman, who, that show went off the air kind of with limited fanfare. But those two were I would say the highlights of that final season. So the critics were, whether you agree with the critics or not, I feel like these nominations show that they were actually watching television this year.
Right. And Ralph, do you have any favorites?
Yeah, I do. I have quite a few. I was really happy to see Eden Share in there for The Middle be back. I know she had won this before, but she took a little break last year, so she's back in there. I love the Bates Motel nominations for both Highmore and Farmiga. I know that they usually are in. They were the last year, I believe. So that was great. But and of course, Empire and Taraji P Henson. But my favorite is probably pretty transparent in that sense that it's obviously Jane the Virgin and good old Gina Rodriguez scoring a nomination.
So
So and Constance Wu.
not transparent.
Not transparent, that's for sure.
And then what about you, Riley? Do you have any awesome nominations that you were so happy to see?
I like Will Forte for The Last Man on Earth. I mean, I've heard you say that it's the best new comedy of the year. I think it's the best show of the year, so happy to say that.
Yeah, I love that show so much. I just watched the finale yesterday. It was so good. For me, I'm a diehard 24 fan, and I was really worried that 24 would get no love from any award show, but it got in for limited series and for Best Actor, so that's so, so cool. But the Will Forte one I was going to say, too. I'm so happy he got in. And someone random like Cameron Monaghan on Shameless. Such a great performance, but I was worried he would never be nominated anywhere, and so to see him nominated is really cool. At Gold Derby, we write these Emmy MVPs all the time about what we want to be nominated. And I just feel like the whole Critics' Choice Awards is a big Emmy MVP. It's like they're saying, Emmys, ignore what you're going to do. Don't nominate Modern Family. Don't nominate House of Cards. Nominate what we want instead. And that's maybe why we're seeing all of these out of nowhere nominations that are all really deserving. So let's go category by category, talk about maybe who we want to win, who we think will win. Let's just jump in with comedy series. The nominations are Broad City, Jane the Virgin, Mom, Silicon Valley, Transparent, Veep, and You're the Worst. Daniel?
That's a tough one. It's hard to say. I can't identify a solid lock in this, but I think I could narrow it down. I think it's probably going to be Transparent or Veep, with maybe Jane the Virgin as an outside chance to spoil there. I think they'll give it to Jane the Virgin elsewhere. We'll talk about a later category, but yeah, I'd say probably one of those two. It's hard for me to guess which. I would give the slight edge maybe to Transparent because it's newer. It has that cool factor that even if the critics aren't swayed by what the Emmys might be doing, they definitely do like to embrace the new and the edgy shows. Last year, this category went to Orange is the New Black, which is now in the drama races. So I think Transparent maybe has the edge.
All right. And what about you guys? Just jump in here.
Yeah, I think it's transparent. I mean, it's got 4 nominations. Orange is the New Black won last year, so they don't have a problem with dramas competing in the comedy category. And it did really well on the top 10 list, too, so we know that the critics actually like it.
I think it'll be Jane the Virgin. I think, that's the show that has like the highest critical buzz of the moment. I know Ralph is probably wanting that one to win, but what do you think will win?
Well, I think you just Dixon cursed it, so it's obviously out of the running now. I'm going to say exactly what Daniel said. I think it's either going to be transparent, or it's going to be Veep. Maybe Jane has an outside shot, but I think it's between one of those two.
And then go ahead and talk about comedy actor as well.
Well,
It's a tough
Tambor
one.
has that. Yeah, that's just I can't see Tambor or anyone even coming close to him in that category.
Yeah.
Last year's winner is out, Jim Parsons.
Yeah, a lot of the winners are out. Bellamy Young, Tatiana Maslany, that was a big one. Yeah, I guess we will be seeing a new winner here. I think Jeffrey Tambor is a safe bet. If I could choose who I wanted to win, it would definitely be Will Forte.
Or even people like Louis C.K., like he's won this category twice, and he's out now. So.
Yeah, the entire show, Louis was snubbed across the board, and it's consistently one of the most critically acclaimed shows on television, not just comedies. And this year, no comedy actor nomination, no comedy series nomination. Michael Rappaport had a fantastic guest spot a week or two ago, and he wasn't nominated for guest performance. It's really kind of surprising that they sort of all at once turned their back on that show this year.
Yeah, and the Critics' Choice, they do tend to copy the Emmy categories, so I find it weird that they only have one, guest category. They lump them all together for drama and for comedy. I think maybe next year they should separate those and give outside people like Michael Rappaport a chance to get in there, because he's so good in that episode of Louis. And for comedy actress, what do you guys have here? Is it going to be Gina Rodriguez?
Yeah, I don't see who else is going to win that.
I think Amy Schumer has a shot, but I agree it's going to be probably going to be Gina Rodriguez.
Yeah,
well, that was pretty easy.
I'm really glad Lisa Kudrow got a nomination. I feel like she's been snubbed over and over and over for the show, and she's so great in the show.
Wait, so Marcus, are you not going for Julia Louis-Dreyfus on this one? Are you going with Gina?
Yeah, I'm definitely going with Gina Rodriguez. I learned my lesson at the Golden Globes.
All right, let me go change my prediction right away, real quick. Hold on.
If Gina gets an Emmy nomination, I might predict her. Well, I'm not predicting her to get in because of the CW networks, the bias against that network. But
if she gets in, she has episodes to win. I mean, that's the hardest part is going to be getting in for her.
Yeah, but there are 5 of 7 experts predicting her to get in. Not that they really know much, but something.
Yeah, I think everyone beat the experts last year. Is that right? I think the editors did, the top 24 users did the best, and the users did overall. So the experts got to up their game this year. And Riley, what about some of the supporting comedy actors? Supporting comedy actors. What do you have in those ones?
Well, supporting actor is fun because, I mean, there have been years where 0 of the nominees have gone on to get Emmy nominations. So this year we actually do have a few who might compete there. Like I want to say Titus Burgess, but I don't know what happened to Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt at these awards. He's the only nomination for that show.
Yeah, that's crazy. I thought for sure Ellie Kemper would get in, or Jen Krakowski.
Or for guest acting, Martin Short and John Hamm. I mean, it seems surprising that they were paying enough attention to the show to single out Titus Burgess, but Ellie Kemper I really thought would have been an easy bet, for at least a nomination for comedy actress.
Mm-hmm. And is Allison Janney going to repeat here? She won last year. She actually tied with Kate Mulgrew, I believe, but now Kate Mulgrew is over in the drama race where she got snubbed. But Allison Janney could win again. She's so great on that show, and Mom is nominated for Best Comedy. It has more support than ever.
Yeah, I think Allison Janney's going to be hard to beat, just given that extra support that we see Mom having this season. Nominated for Best Comedy Series. I wouldn't completely rule out maybe Judith Light. They could go left field and pick Melanie Linsky. That would be sort of wishful thinking on my part, but they saw, they were paying enough attention to nominate her, and that performance was just terrific. But it's probably unlikely. It's probably going to be Allison Janney.
I don't know. I would also pay close attention to Eden Scher in this race. She's back. If they obviously were paying attention. She took the whole season on her back this year for the middle, and she just did a phenomenal job. And if she's nominated for an Emmy, which some of the experts are predicting, she has a tape that can beat anybody in that category, including Allison Janney at her best. I think she's done great. So I wouldn't disregard her. She's a past winner. She's been nominated before. They just skipped her last year because of the orange influx that came in. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I remember her acceptance speech. She was so happy, like, to be in that, to be a winner. So humble. I want to see her up on that stage again because I loved her speech last year or 2 years ago. And then, okay, rounding out the comedy races here, we have the guest performer category. Josh Charles is a surprise there for me. Well, they're all surprises, let's be honest. But I might go with Bradley Whitford for Transparent. He was really good on that show.
It's hard for me to guess on this one. I love the Josh Charles nomination, by the way. He's done a couple of bits on Inside Amy Schumer, and this one is I think is for the Friday Night Lights spoof that he did. Clear eyes, full hearts, don't rape. So fantastic, but probably not him. I don't know. None of these would be completely surprising, but all of them would be a little surprising in the same way, because I can't really pick out a clear front runner here. Looking at the list, I would guess maybe Metcalf or Whitford.
Yeah, Metcalf too.
My two favorites of the year were Kirstie Alley for the middle and Michael Rappaport for Louis, and both were snubbed here. So I'm boycotting this category because my favorites didn't make it in. Riley, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say they're all pretty under the radar. I mean, we only had 2 of 6 of them in our prediction center.
So any thoughts more on comedy before we move over to the drama races?
Well, I just wanted to say one thing about the comedy guest performers. A couple of people who didn't make it in for Inside Amy Schumer, who actually could at the Emmys. Like, we saw Steve Buscemi get in for Portlandia last year, and last night's episode was a 12 Angry Men spoof where they were deliberating over whether Amy Schumer is hot enough to be on TV, and that was Paul Giamatti and John Hawkes. A number of other actors in that scene, but those are the two most recognizable. And I think Giamatti could get in here at the Emmys. I really do.
That'd be great. He got in for Downton Abbey, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't underestimate Jaime Camille in the supporting actor race. I know nobody mentioned him when they were talking about that, but Jane right now is on. He's got that like kind of over the top loud character. So it's not like there's an actual front runner in that list of people that we have, and everybody else's show seems to not be on the air right now. And Titus Burgess does have a lot of buzz, but I don't know. I wouldn't discount Jaime. They did give the show 3 nominations, so like they don't not like it.
I can see that category probably going to anyone but probably Adam Driver. I don't think there's enough love for girls this year for them to give him the win. But I was looking at those other 5. I think they're all plausible.
That's fair.
This is actually Adam Driver's first nomination in the category too.
Wow! I didn't realize that.
And I was actually going to say that the 2 I think that could win would be Adam, because Adam Driver, he's going to be in the new Star Wars movie, right? So the critics are going to want to like give him a little boost before that comes out. And Tony Hale had that episode two weeks ago now, and it was just so good. It's his Emmy episode, and it aired right at the right time.
Yeah.
When I watched that episode, I moved him to #1 in my supporting actor predictions, just on the basis that I know he's going to be nominated, and from the looks of it, that's obviously his episode. Unless there's something bigger that comes along, and it's the best I've seen him on that show. I'm not a huge Veep fan, but I could step back and watch that episode and go like, yeah, that's an Emmy one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before
Okay.
they announced the nominees, I thought that Chris Pratt would win this award because he had Guardians of the Galaxy, and I thought they'd give a farewell hug to Parks and Recreation, but that show got nothing.
Oh yeah, it did get snubbed, huh?
Yeah, that's disappointing. It seems like the critics should have given it at least Amy Poehler or just something, one or two nominations, just because it was always under the radar and it was always the critics who are keeping that show up and alive and going forward, and it was never a huge rating success. I really wish they would have given it a little something.
Yeah, kind of like they did with Parenthood. They gave that two nominations on its final season. So they do have they do have a heart. If your show leaves, they will nominate you. Unless you're Mad Men, then you get nothing.
But if you're Justified, you get everything.
There you go. So yeah, best drama series nominations: The Americans, Empire, Game of Thrones, The Good Wife, yes, Homeland, Justified, Orange is the New Black. Who wants to start on this category? Ralph, go ahead.
Holy hell. My God. I honestly have zero clue. I would say Game of Thrones just because of the season that it's having, but it only got one nomination in this whole group here. I don't think they'll give Orange last year comedy and this year drama. Empire possibly because it's popular, but it's not really a big critics hit. So I probably Justified, The Americans, one of those off the wall ones.
Didn't Game of Thrones win two years ago? It tied Breaking Bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do feel like the critics don't like to repeat, and so maybe even though Game of Thrones is having one of its best seasons ever, because it's won before, maybe they're going to give it to something else. What about The Good Wife? I mean, Rob's not here. He would be championing The Good Wife. It could happen. It had a really great season, and we know they're watching that show because they gave it 4 nominations overall, including a guest star.
Yeah, I would say, my gut is telling me Game of Thrones and Good Wife are the shows that are probably near the top of this heap. I mean, Americans got a lot of nominations, and I think The Americans had its best season this year. I thought it was outstanding this year. But I don't know. It's the heat coming off of Game of Thrones and The Good Wife these days feels like it's bigger, and I'm not sure that the critics are going to ignore that. I think it might be one of those two.
Yeah, I don't know why they have to announce these nominations so early. I mean, Game of Thrones, Mad Men, Louis, Orphan Black, these are shows that vary just like 3 or 4 episodes, and I think that's why they're being snubbed this year. It doesn't have so much to do with the actual content or quality of the shows. I mean, they're still getting great reviews. The critics, they just don't feel comfortable voting for them when they've only seen a few episodes.
Yeah, that's really true. They could have waited a week or two and to do their nominations. Do they always come out this early?
No,
can't
they
remember.
moved them up 3 weeks earlier this year. So now they're actually going to be handing out the awards before the end of the eligibility period.
Yeah,
Crazy.
that is jumping the gun a little bit. The fact that, and I'm sure the critics have a lot of the critics have seen more episodes of these shows. They might have had access to more of this material, just like the film critics do when they vote for their awards in December a lot of the times. But I do think in a lot of cases there are probably a lot of the voting members that have probably only seen maybe a handful of episodes of Louis or of Game of Thrones and that sort of thing. So yeah, that probably did hurt a little bit. It's really too early for these.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like some things like Bessie or Nightingale, then HBO obviously sent out screeners for those ones. But like nobody's seen the series finale of Mad Men. Like that show, I think, still has the potential to win Best Drama at the Emmys. So, like if that can rally and come back in a couple months, these critics nominations are going to look kind of silly.
Yeah, that's true. When we were emailing back and forth, I mentioned how the fact that the TV critics snubbed Modern Family and House of Cards, and that would be similar to the film critics snubbing Boyhood and Birdman. I mean, if that had happened, there would be such a huge outcry. Um, I don't know. Just wanted to throw that out there. It just goes to show that they're not trying to predict the Emmys. They're just doing their own thing and hoping maybe the Emmys copy them.
Which is nice because it's the opposite of the film ones. Whereas that's
Yeah.
I think that's exactly it. I think they're trying to beat that eligibility period so that they can have some kind of an impact for some of these, like Constance Wu's and maybe Jane the Virgins that they know probably won't get into the Emmy race just because of what they are. But I don't see it as anything too bad, too distraught. I mean, nobody complains when they do top 10 lists at the end of 2014 instead of waiting for the season to end, or regular television season to end. So I don't see any big deal. I think it's pretty cool to have something this early. And they don't come out until May 30th. I mean, it's the end of May, 15 days before nomination voting goes on. So let's just relax and enjoy them.
So best drama actor, I really, really hope Charlie Hunnam can win there. I'm such a big Sons of Anarchy fan, but Daniel, I know you're pulling for Aidan Young there, aren't you?
I am absolutely pulling for Aidan Young, and I think he's absolutely outstanding. I think he's got an outside shot. I'm not going to delude myself into thinking he's a front runner. I think Rectify should have been nominated for Best Drama and should have gotten, one or two supporting actress nominations. It has such a great cast. Looking at this list, just considering the amount of support that all of these different shows got overall, I would say this is probably between Oliphant and Reese, the two FX guys, two of the three FX guys, because Charlie Hunnam got in there too. Those shows have a lot of support, drama series nominations. Justified went off the air this year, and the critics clearly thought it went out on a high, so they might, this might be where they award it.
I don't know, man. Young could be the new Tatiana and get that one nomination from that one small network and the one that critics are really behind and want to push. And he could pull it off. So I wouldn't count him out. I've got him pretty high up.
Your lips to God's ears. I would say he's probably in third to win. Maybe him and Odenkirk in that middle of the pack could upset kind of position.
You mean to the critics' ears? Because I don't think God's a BTTA. I could be wrong.
You never know. You never know.
So drama actress, I think this is a slam dunk for Viola Davis. I know a lot of people will disagree with me, but what about you, Riley? Where do you stand?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like Ralph said earlier, Empire is not necessarily that much of a critic show. I guess How to Get Away with Murder isn't either. So I don't know.
That's true.
I think it'll be Viola Davis too. I think How to Get Away with Murder is campy and soapy a little bit, but it's closer to that respectable The Practice kind of thing than it is to Dynasty, which is what Empire's doing. If they're gonna award Empire anywhere, I think this obviously the race. I don't think they're gonna give it Best Drama Series, but they could very well give it to Raji. But I think Viola Davis has the performance and her 2 Oscar nominations and her film career recently. I think she has the most prestige in this category, and she'll probably win, even though there aren't any other nominations for the show. I think that's not too surprising, just because How to Get Away with Murder is the Viola Davis show. It's just all about her performance. Oh, actually, I did get one other nomination for guest acting for Cicely Tyson, but yeah, it's all her.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't got
that a lot
in there.
Yeah.
I have. I actually. You may think I have Taraji P. Henson, and which I'm really thinking that why not have Cookie on stage if you have the ability to have her up there, and she has made a cultural impact. She's huge right now. She's hot right now. She's the person. Viola Davis is in there because she's Viola Davis, but I don't think she has the momentum she did at the beginning of the season. But I also wouldn't count out Vera Farmiga. If you've seen any of the recent episodes, and Marcus, what Tom told us the other night. If you've seen any of the recent episodes of her, she is absolutely incredible this season. They obviously like Bates Motel. She hasn't been awarded before, and it could. She's also an Oscar nominee. She's got pedigree behind her. I would not count her out one bit to sneak up and take this award, especially if the critics are split between Viola and Taraji. She would at least be third.
And the kudos will air on A&E, and that's the network of Bates Motel. I don't know if that'll help or hurt, but it definitely won't hurt. Supporting actor. This is a tough one. My personal feeling is that Ben Mendelsohn deserves every award in the book for Bloodline, but he's the only Bloodline nomination here. So I don't know, Jonathan Banks maybe?
I feel like Walton Goggins is the only actor who's been nominated every year of the Critics' Choice. I don't know if that's true, but he gets nominated for Sons of Anarchy and Justified. This year is up for both.
That's
I
true.
think if they want to award Justified somewhere, this is the place to do it.
Yeah, looking at these nominees, I definitely give Goggins. I'd say he's one of the ones to watch for the win. I think Mendelsohn also has a shot. I think Banks has a shot. Eccleston, maybe an outside chance, but I think it's going to be between those three.
Right, and this would be a good place to give Justified a win for its final season.
Especially because that final season was so much about the final face-off, the culminating of the conflict between Timothy Olyphant and Walton Goggins, who frankly was virtually a co-lead in the last season of the show.
And Ben Mendelsohn was a co-lead as well.
Yeah.
He went down to supporting, so it's really interesting. Any other thoughts there before we go to supporting actress?
I just want to say it's interesting that Homeland made a comeback this year. It got nominated for Best Drama Series. Claire Danes didn't come back, but this is actually Mandy Patinkin's first nomination for the show at the Critics' Choice Awards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lorraine Toussaint is my pick to win. She was so good in Orange is the New Black, and I worried for a second that because of the category switch, she would miss out, and that's still possible at the Emmy. She could miss out, but I'm so glad to see her here. She beat out other people like Uzo Aduba and Kate Mulgrew. So they're clear. Obviously they're watching Orange is the New Black, so she's my pick. What about you guys?
Obviously they're not watching Orange is the New Black because Uzo Aduba did not get in there, and she should win in a write-in vote. That's what I'd say. But I also agree with you. I think Lorraine Toussaint will probably take this because she did a Gold Derby hangout recently.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Carrie Coon did one last fall, so it's the Gold Derby bump versus the Gold Derby bump. And actually, Joelle Carter, so did she.
And we talked to Christine Baranski on the red carpet at Paley Fest.
See, we've just been way too slutty with the Gold Derby bump. Now we don't know what to do.
And this is where Parenthood is getting some love in the supporting races, which is awesome for Parenthood fans. They won for Monica Potter here two years ago, right?
2 or 3 years ago, yeah.
And then guest performer, Riley, what are your thoughts here?
Guest performer, I have no idea. Who's good in that category?
Cicely
Tyson, I think, has a really good shot. The legend vote. Plus,
yeah, I don't think she'll lose.
Well, Cicely Tyson lost last year we all thought when we all thought she was easily the front runner for the trip to Bountiful, she lost the Critics' Choice Award, and then we thought, okay, but she'll win the Emmy. She lost the Emmy, so I wouldn't say that she's the legend vote is going to be such an easy slam dunk for her. I think she's up there. I think Lois Smith could do it for the Americans. She was in one episode, and it was just such a great performance. I think even though there's less support for the show overall this year, Julianne Nicholson for Masters of Sex, the fact that they singled her out for that the end of her story arc from last season, they could give her the win this year. Sam Elliott too. He was basically in the whole he's ineligible for guest actor at the Emmys because he was in almost the entire season. He's going supporting at the Emmys. He could win here just because he had that big high-profile villain performance.
It's so interesting that Sam Elliott in guest. Well, Lorraine Toussaint is in supporting. So obviously they're not following any rule here. They're just saying, oh, you go here and you go here.
Yeah, I mean, past winners in this category are Lucy Liu, Jane Fonda, and Allison Janney, and those are people who are in the entire season. Maybe that helps somebody like Julianne Nicholson, who was in a lot of episodes of Sam Elliott.
Yeah. Julianne Nicholson also has a huge fan support, kind of like a Monica Potter or a Sarah Paulson, just people who, such strong fan base that they want to see this person finally get nominated for an Emmy and win one. I might pick her just to be different, go against the Cicely Tyson vote, but I think it's going to be Cicely Tyson. Okay, so we're running a little long here. Do you have any thoughts on the movie miniseries categories overall? Like I said earlier, 24, Kiefer Sutherland, so happy about those.
I wonder if it'll show up in the limited categories at the Emmys, or if the Emmys will reclassify it as a drama.
I think it's limited.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they told us it was limited.
Yeah, and I think
Like,
that has to do.
According to rules, it's just another season of 24, which apparently they're not going to take as miniseries anymore.
Right. I think it has to do with the title because it's a different title. Like, whereas The Comeback came back and it's still called The Comeback. When 24 came back, they titled it something different. I think maybe that's a workaround. But you're right. It's breaking every rule of the limited series rule book. Freak Show. I'm so happy about Freak Show getting in for it's 3 actors there: Jessica Lange, Finn Wittrock, and Sarah Paulson. Those are the right 3. If you watch the show, those are the right 3 to get in.
But no nomination for Best Limited Series. This is the first time, at Critics' Choice, that a season of American Horror Story hasn't been nominated in that top category. So that's probably telling. They weren't as, and now that they have those categories split up, so there's even more room to work with.
And there's
yeah. It seems like there's probably, I wouldn't necessarily bet on it winning those this year. Maybe an outside chance for a couple.
All right. Well, what are your final thoughts on the whole Critics' Choice nominations? I'm so excited for a lot of these nominees. It does feel like kind of their Emmy MVPs, which I love even more. Riley, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I've been watching the whole season, trying to see like House of Cards versus Game of Thrones, who's going to win. But at the Globes, at all the Guild Awards, neither of them won anything, and I don't think either of them is going to win here. So the Emmy winner for Best Drama Series might win that award and nothing else. I find that pretty interesting.
And Ralph?
I'm interested to see. I know we always talk about how these have little impact on the Emmys, but since it's going to be before the nomination voting begins, the winners are announced. I'm curious to see if any of these kind of Emmy MVPs, as you're calling them, of ours, get any kind of push or bump or ride any kind of wave into a shocking but deserved Emmy nomination. So kind of excited. They got some good things in here instead of the same old same old. I mean, you say Modern Family didn't make it, and a few House of Cards, but if it was just stacked with Modern Family actors and Modern Family nominations and House of Cards, then we'd be bitching about something else.
Oh yeah, there's always something to bitch about with our jobs here. Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have too much to bitch about. Just like the only things that bother me about these nominations are some inconsistencies. Like you have Amy Schumer, comedy actress, for her sketch show, but Carrie Brownstein is somehow supporting on Portlandia. Those sorts of inconsistencies are the only things that I think are really weird. The actual nominees themselves, I think, they're all fantastic. Even the ones I haven't necessarily seen or caught up with yet. Just seeing so much diversity from, the stuff that got all the attention, the stuff that got hardly any attention, flew under the radar. They were paying attention. I really wish the film critics would be this out of the box. Film critics, even though, sometimes they're idiosyncratic, they usually pretty much toe the party line. They're usually selecting from among the same pool of heavily campaigned Oscar contenders. And these feel really genuinely fresh. So it'll be interesting, as Ralph said, if they moving up the calendar, their schedule to try, to announce the winners before the voting for Emmys even starts. That might influence how they vote for winners here. We might, if they think Cicely Tyson's going to get the Emmy nomination anyway, they might go for Julianne Nicholson instead, just to put a stamp on someone who they know needs the push. And it'll be interesting to see if that's the way they go.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you next time.